Welcome to the PaleyFest Fall TV Previews. I'm Patrick Gomez, editor-in-chief of Entertainment Weekly, and I am delighted to be your host for this special conversation celebrating ABC's acclaimed hit series, 911. Today, I'm pleased to welcome the members of the series cast. Joining us today are Angela Bassett, who stars as Athena Grant, Peter Krause, who stars as Bobby Nash, Jennifer Love Hewitt, who stars as Maddie Buckley, now Han, Oliver Stark, who stars as Evan Buck Buckley, Aisha Hinds, who stars as Henrietta Hen Wilson, Kenneth Choi, who stars as Howie Chimney Han, Ryan Guzman, who stars as Eddie Diaz. Congratulations, you all, on a show that has continued to find new audiences, even amidst a change of network. And I want to start off today's conversation with knowing that you are going into season 8, but this is your second season with ABC. I'd love to kind of take that step back of knowing that you made that transition. It used to be a little more common, and then it became common for shows to change from a broadcast network to maybe a streaming network. But you're one of the very few shows in modern history that has changed broadcast networks and continued to find such amazing success. Angela, I see your reaction, so I'm going to start with you. What was that transition like, making the move from Fox to ABC?
Well, it was really pretty smooth. I think the biggest upset of the season is that the industry was experiencing a strike. So that was more of a, more in the mix than switching from broadcast to broadcast. It was really pretty smooth. We stayed on the lot that we were accustomed to, on the set, that we were accustomed to. And yeah, not a problem.
It was the lot you're accustomed to, but there certainly was a lot of sets for those first few episodes that particularly you and Peter were on that were not something you were accustomed to. You all, as every season of 911, it started off with a bang, or at least a cruise and a bomb. And obviously at certain points of the show, all of you were involved in that experience. What was it like to kick ABC's version of this show off with that massive cruise ship?
Well, we have to give it up to Tim Minear, who is our showrunner and, the head in charge. And he always has great big ideas about how to begin a brand new season. And he had the idea of, what was the ship movie? Someone?
Poseidon.
Poseidon Adventure.
Poseidon.
Which I had never seen, but the Poseidon Adventure. And we built a whole set. We had to build the biggest gimbal in the world so that we could flip it upside down and ourselves in the process. And it truly was a little bit torturous, very much cold, extremely wet, and just long hours, but we were all in it together. And I would just look around and count how many people were in the water with me. And and I knew I could make it through if they could.
Peter, how about for you?
It was certainly interesting, and I was particularly pleased to see the guest cast all really enjoy getting to have that long run of work post-strike. That group of survivors on the Poseidon Adventure episodes, they were like a second regular cast for those 3-4 episodes that we had. It was a good time. We were wet, got a little banged up, but it was fun.
Of course, it was nice to have that other cast, but this here being the core cast, for all of you, this happens periodically throughout this series where one or more of you is separated from the rest of the group for a longer amount of time. What was it like filming this last season, and then finally getting to all come back together and be more part of the traditional core cast?
I think over the years we've built such a bond. Some might refer to it as a trauma bond, but we really have become, more than friends. We are family, and I think anytime one of us is missing, it's felt, and they're certainly missed daily. So it's something to experience. But I think when they come back in, there's such a feeling of camaraderie and celebration, whether that's shown on the show or not. I think, we enjoy each other as people so much that it always feels like a big deal when, as a core cast, we are brought back into those same rooms together and get to kind of fall into those old routines.
you mentioned the bond that you've and the trauma bond. Perhaps there's been a lot of the cruise ship being the most recent giant example, but you all have been through a lot of uh, physical exertion filming this show. Even those of you that are in the dispatch center have your moments out in the wild, and even inside the dispatch center, some craziness can ensue. Was it for each of you, knowing that not all of you had the same first day or first experiences with the disasters, but was it day one on set that you really got a full picture of what it was going to be like to be on this show? Or did they slow roll you into, oh, right, this is going to be physically exhausting? I see Peter going to Kenneth. So, Kenneth, I'm going to make you answer this one.
Yeah, go Kenny.
The first day was the baby in the drain pipe, right?
Baby the drain
Yeah.
pipe.
He threw us in right away. So it was the most bizarre emergency, the pilot, the baby in the drain pipe. We were all there. Grant was running through the stairs with that. We were concentrating on the baby. So a kind of traumatic emergency like that. I remember we kind of were really in it. And I think it set the pace for the rest of the series.
There's that moment at the end of that emergency. Do you guys remember when we have the baby and it starts crying and we will like look up at each other? I think it was like lovely. And it was like, yeah, we're going to be doing this thing. It was a really sweet moment as a cast, I think.
Well, I remember that moment fondly. He first was given the actual live baby.
Yeah.
Where a director said, all right, now run down those stairs. And so Oliver had this infant and he had to run down a couple of flights of stairs with it. So
yeah,
that was also right away at the beginning.
And I'm not somebody that has too much baby experience. So being told to hold that baby and run down the stairs, cameraman behind me as well. So I'm like, well, if he trips, he's taking us all out. I think, yeah, that did set the tone of like, oh, we're gonna really do things. You know, we're doing this with a real baby. Yeah, that as much of this show is going to be as practical as possible, which I do think, yeah, set the tone moving forward.
How about for you, Aisha?
I would have to agree, and I would have to say that nothing was more practical for me than sitting and watching a room full of snakes and waiting for them to like eat a rat. That in that moment when I read the episode, which I think might have been like our second or third episode in the first season, I certainly didn't think that we were literally going to be walking into a room full of actual live snakes. And so I think it let me know that we were in for more than we had, prepared our minds for. And by the end of that first season, it was solidified when we were out in the middle of the water on an airplane and couldn't get back to land. And the water was like up to our waist and it was freezing cold. And Pete was like up on something and had to like rescue someone from an airplane. I was like, we're in for it. We're in for it. And so here we are 8 seasons later of quite a bit of practical adventure, and it just gets more and more exciting each season. And so here we are.
And I cannot wait to get to this upcoming season and have you all tease a little bit about what we're going to see. But I'd love to next go to Jennifer and Ryan. Unlike the rest of the cast, you had the benefit of knowing a little bit more about what the show is and what may entail to join. So what did make this a show that was appealing for you to join? Were you super excited about those potential action elements and the things that made it beyond a normal, say, like courtroom procedural show or another sort of procedural? Ryan, I'll start with, or no, Jennifer, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go, Ryan.
Ladies first.
Ryan, please, with the mustache, go. You first.
Well, I mean, the first season was incredible, right? So I got to have DVDs. Tim Minear gave me a bunch of these DVDs, so I watched them. And kind of understanding how the show was made and the cast and the thrilling nature of the show. That kind of that, and honestly, I just had a kid, and I was like, I need a job in general. Let's be truth. But the whole thing was enticing. So as I was watching, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th episode of the first season, I was like, okay, I could see myself in this. And the cast seems like it's an amazing cast. I mean, obviously we have the two powerhouses in Peter Krause and Angela Bassett, but everybody as a whole, is an incredible addition to the show. So then I found out Jennifer Love Hewitt's going to be a part of it. So it's just like, it just kept on adding, and there was so much positivity behind it that it was just a no-brainer for me.
And how about for you, Jennifer?
Yeah, same. I mean, the cast is incredible. The show is incredible. It looked like a movie. When I saw it, I was like, this is awesome. I was just really excited I had also just, had two children. So I was really excited to get to come back to TV and be a part of something like this. And Maddie was not a character that I had been able to play before. She was really complicated, and obviously coming in with sort of a unique and really interesting story. So I was really excited about that. And then it was one of the first times I've ever come into a show after it was already going. So I was really nervous at first to be there, and everybody was so welcoming and so lovely. And yeah, I felt like I didn't miss anything at all. Honestly, it was really nice.
I know, having spoken to you before about the show, Jennifer, that one of the things that you felt early on was a connection to both Kenneth as a person, but also that Maddie and Chimney, yes, as he's showing off the ring, Maddie and Chimney could be a potential romantic storyline, which obviously resulted in an unconventional, because it's 911, wedding in season 7. And that was really fantastic to hear, not just your version of that story, but I've also spoken to showrunner and co-creator Tim Minear about how enthused he is when he hears ideas like that from the cast and obviously the team of writers as well. So knowing that that's an example, I would love to hear from the rest of you about how you feel like just you either embodying the character feel like it pushed in a certain direction, or if there were specific things that you were really excited to delve into over these past 7/8 seasons that have made it there.
Well, over the years, I've enjoyed all sorts of things in this show. Certainly the fun with the fire team, but I also like when we do the Thin Man stuff. Angela and I, we solve crimes together. I think early on we got to do a thing where Bobby gets dosed with LSD, and there's a woman who did that, who runs like a wild animal care center. And so that was sort of the beginning of us doing that sort of stuff. There's some more of that this season. And it's just, you never know what Tim and the writers are going to come up with. So it's sort of like Christmas morning every time a script comes out. It's a lot of fun.
They've kind of created a very collaborative environment where it doesn't ever feel like a story is forced upon us, but it often works in the other way as well, where he is bringing ideas to us. What do you feel about this for the character? Do you like this idea? And it feels nice to be let in on that as an actor, rather than just here are the pages, go out there and read them. It feels like a thing that we get to all create together.
Yeah, and I really, really loved like the way that they spent kind of a season, and I think a half, on dealing with all of the origin stories for the characters. Like, I feel like it was the time that I really became an engrossed audience member to the show, because now I'm like, oh, is that what Eddie went through? Oh, was that Chimney's story? Maddie, and so I think, and with the subsequent seasons that follow, it just feels like you're just peeling back even more and more layers, which then like feed these new storylines in the new seasons. But it's always it was really, really nice to kind of see like these featurettes, if you will, on each person's life, and their families, and what informed their decision to take on the career that they took on, and what happened before, so that was a really, really nice component that I think they did. And to Oliver's point, they, communicated so heavily with us about it. And as the years go by, they just keep adding to it, which is great.
Yeah, I enjoyed that part of it also. Listening, you hear the word, it's a procedural, but I think that truly is what makes it really unique and special, that we really get an opportunity, to see what's unique about these people and their relationships, and of course, all our relationships with one another. As you said, Aisha, our past, our traumas, as young people growing up, it's that's truly has been lovely, and I think audiences really appreciate that, because you just fall in love with the characters because of their humanity.
It's something as well that you have the time on network television. You know, you have these long seasons. Like, why not delve more into these characters and these people? You know, why not make it more than just Case of the Week and invest in the characters? You know, you have time to explore them because you have whatever it is, 18 episodes, 22 episodes to really breathe life into them. I love that we get to do that.
Well, that's a fantastic look to the past, but I'd love to spend some time looking towards the future, or at least our future as viewers, and talk a little bit about some of the way that season 7 wrapped up, as well as what we could expect from this upcoming season. So I know at the end of season 7, obviously Athena's and Bobby's house burns down, and Bobby has gone through the cardiac arrest experience, but luckily he's recovered. I was watching that episode and I was like, wait, am I gonna have to get Tim Minear on the phone for an interview, for a very important interview before this finale airs? But luckily, at least luckily for us, Peter, your character does survive. So would love to hear kind of what that was like to film those really, really emotional, I mean, fantastic work. The bedside, Angela, when you're on the bedside with him and, you know, saying you're going to go out there and get some revenge, some fantastic work. And then when Bobby wakes up, Peter, I think it's just so touching to see that end of the episode. Would love to hear a little bit about filming those hospital scenes and then what we can expect now that at least theoretically Bobby and Athena don't have a home to go to.
Yeah. Somebody from Bobby's past comes back and fires it up, you know, fires our life up. And I think that scene by the bed, I remember that day. I think that's near the end of the season. And sometimes when we're sprinting toward the end of a season, there's so much coming at us, but it's coming like relatively quickly, you know. So I just remember just the cameras there, maybe just getting that scene like shortly before, and just always telling yourself it's gonna come, it's gonna show up, and it did, because it's written so well, so it's easy, you know, it's just settles into your spirit and into your memory bank quite easily. But you're like wondering for a moment if you're going to be able to get it, and then, you know, put your heart into it. But with Peter there, like almost lifeless. I was like, you got it easy today, buddy. But it was wonderful, and the crew is just so, you know, they're just so supportive, and they're there with you every step of the way. That everybody's just doing their part.
Leading into the hospital, we had to film a scene, you know, where Athena is suffering from smoke inhalation, and I have to get her out of the house. And we filmed that out in Pomona in an area where we were in a very rocky, dirty, long grass field. Lay down in the dirt and the rocks, and they had the fire off in the distance, and I had to go through mouth to mouth and then heart attack and all this stuff. But it was typical 911, where we had to endure less than perfect filming circumstances to pull it all off. But I just remember what a rough field they put us in, and that you were down there just in the dirt and the rocks, like with flames behind you.
Well, it was very impressive. And I know, Peter, you've mentioned to me in the past that particularly this past season, when you were filming the cruise ship scenes, there were sometimes that you were filming up to, I think, 4 or 5 episodes all kind of at once or in pieces. And so the fact that you're able to just keep track of what your characters are doing at any given moment is quite impressive. But what can the two of you tease in terms of what we can expect from Bobby and Athena heading into season 8? I know, Peter, you would envision maybe they were living in a tiny little apartment, or are they house hunting? Are they rebuilding?
We're house hunting for sure. We're living in some sort of corporate housing, but that's about all we know for now. We go through a little tug of war about what exactly we're going to do for housing, but we have filmed a scene where we've got a sense of direction, I would say.
Angela, what's important to Athena in looking for a new home, or what is are there some like must-haves or can't-haves?
Well, Bobby being a fireman and firemen loving to cook and, and making meals for one another, great kitchen is important to him. For Athena and Bobby, I think it's just that idea and that sense, that feel of family and community. So she's just looking for, you know it when you feel it, when you see it, that it must feel like, I think they're simple people, I think, at heart. They're just regular people, a beautiful blended family. They love their friends, they love other. They've meshed two families together, two complicated lives. So I don't think they're grand and over the top. So that's definitely not going to work for them. But they each have their own ideas, and like always, they have to, meet in the middle.
As any good marriage does. Ryan, your character Eddie's life kind of blew up at the end of last season. Not at all. And obviously with Christopher leaving to go live with his grandparents, at least for a short period of time, what can you tell us about filming those very emotional scenes with Eddie and his son, and also what we can expect as season 8 arrives?
Yeah, Eddie really stirred up the nest. I mean, dating a doppelganger of your late wife is probably not the best move if you're in a relationship. But I love those scenes. I love the intimate scenes that I have with obviously Gavin playing Christopher, and the opportunity that Tim gives my character to have that deep impact with, father, son, and just trying to find new love and self-love in general. I love those kind of characteristics of Eddie. Heading into this new season, though, it's a new landscape. So it's really everybody's kind of left except for the 118. That's his sounding board and the shoulders he relies on. So as we're trying to find and navigate our time with the new captain, we are all finding our own paths. But Eddie specifically, I think he's just trying to make positive choices. Everything's kind of gone to the worst case scenario for him in his life. So he's just trying to make the most positive choices he can.
Like facial hair.
Yeah.
Well, you referenced Captain Gerard, who steps in Bobby's absence. Oliver, how is Buck handling that change? And obviously, there's a lot of change for Buck over the past season, with entering his relationship with Tommy. So, what can you tease about the new dynamic at work and in his personal life?
Yeah, so I mean, we don't really have too much of a time jump moving into this season, So the relationship with Tommy is much where it was left off. It's in its early stages. They're still learning and figuring things out about each other and what a relationship might or could look like. At work, I would say Buck is maybe struggling with Gerard, or at least struggling with the change, maybe the most. He is quite set in his ways, and I think he feels very loyal to Bobby, and he certainly butts heads with Gerard in the first episode. Buck is someone who, in the earlier seasons, we saw him have some issue with authority and knowing his place. And that certainly kind of rears its head again. He was somewhat settled, in his role with Bobby as captain, but a change in leadership has brought that old self out again, and he's rebelling a little bit as we move into this season, and not very successfully. Cleaning a lot of toilets.
As one does.
Getting really good at it.
Some people do toilets, some people do mustaches. Each their own.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly that.
Take that, Ryan. Wow.
Came up on top on that one.
Some people do mustaches. Oh.
Peter, Oliver just mentioned, obviously there's change because Captain Gerard is around now. How is Bobby handling house hunting, maybe being the biggest thing in his life right now, or is it? What can you tease about where he's at in terms of
Well,
professionally?
Bobby has been assigned as a consultant on a television series called Hot Shots about firefighters. So I'm having to deal with the show within the show, dealing with people like us, apparently. And we have a wonderful consultant on the show named Mike Bowman, a former LA fire chief. And I'm not modeling how I'm handling things on Hot Shots, the show within the show, at all on him. But it's a fun little extra layer that Tim Minear has created to comment on, disaster emergency shows on television. So that's what Bobby's up to while Gerard is at the 118.
We love a good meta moment. And then in the final moments of season 7, we see newlyweds Maddie and Chimney deciding to take a really big step with their family to help out Hen and Karen in becoming Mara's temporary foster parents after there's a run-in with a councilwoman. And that was all very emotional, and honestly, it was unexpected as a viewer. Knowing to expect the unexpected watching the show, that was a twist I didn't necessarily see coming. For Jennifer and Kenneth, I would love to hear how you feel about how Maddie and Chim came to that decision, and then Aisha, what that was like to film those scenes, as well as maybe where that progresses to in season 8.
Henny?
Sir, you're not going through a tunnel.
Yeah. Jennifer, take it away.
No, I have to say the storyline of bringing Mara into our family in order to get her into a good and safe place for Hen and Karen is one of my favorite things that Maddie and Jimmy have ever done on the show. I did not know that it was coming, and when I read it, I was so touched by it and really excited about that. And probably my favorite thing that happened in season 7, besides getting married, was getting to spend more time as friends with Hen and Karen. I've loved doing that stuff. And it's been really important, I think, for Maddie, because for a long time, particularly with her storyline, not really feeling safe in sharing herself with a lot of people. And Chimney having such a family in the 118, I think for Maddie, it's been an odd thing to know when to sort of fit herself in there and how to do that. And so it was really nice to have her have a season where she felt safe and good in her life and could sort of get to know everybody better, except Eddie. I don't know why we don't ever talk to each other, but maybe one day. But hi, Ryan. But it was really nice filming the Hen and Karen stuff, and I loved that storyline, and it continues a little bit into the new season, so that's fun.
Personally, it's been wonderful because getting to work with Jennifer and Aisha and Tracy, we formed this tight little bond, this quartet, and we have a lot of fun in between takes, so that carries over to the scene. So personally, it's been very satisfying.
And Tracy Toms, as you mentioned, fantastic as Aisha's wife, Karen.
The best.
But yes, Aisha, what was that revelation like for you, and what can you tease in terms of where that storyline is going to go?
It was incredible. It was an incredible revelation. To Angela's earlier point, family has been a huge through line for this entire series. And it's one of the things that truly, I think, endears our viewers. At least I know for me, I hear a lot of audience members, talk about this being one of those singular shows that they watch as a family together. And so it's really beautiful having the opportunity to kind of foster family, no pun intended, but foster family off screen and on screen, literally and figuratively, to just kind of dig into what that journey is to be foster parents, to go through the hope and then go through the heartbreak, just vacillating between along the lines of that pendulum has been really rich and rewarding as an actor, but it's also just a great space to be informed by and to inform the work. And so, yes, I absolutely love spending as much time as possible with Jennifer Love Hewitt on and off screen. It has been really fun. The previous seasons, we really had just kind of passing moments. And so this was an opportunity for us to have a little bit more of intentional time. And so for it to be surrounding something as special as this was really, really wonderful. Tracy Thoms is great. Skylar Bell, who's our little girl who plays Mara, she came in and was nonverbal in the beginning and gave such a layered, beautiful performance without words, you know, and so she has climbed deep into our hearts, and we're hoping that we get to keep her. You know, obviously, our family has been threatened more than once, our family unit. That's happening for Hen inside of her own personal family, with the councilwoman, you know, interfering with the adoption process for Mara. It's happening in the firehouse now with Gerard coming in. You know, she has terrible history with Gerard, and so that sense of her feeling grounded and that sense of family is turned on its head for her, you know. And so this season she's kind of trying to get her 10 toes back on the ground, and hopefully it works out for her, both in the firehouse and her home at home with Karen.
Speaking of chaos at work, obviously when the show premieres on Thursday, September 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, I'm sure ABC would like me to say, there is going to be a big event similar to the cruise ship or the other large premiere events that you all have had. And we know that there's a lot of bees headed your way. Really quickly in our final minutes, would love to hear from you all about getting to film that bee catastrophe.
It's going to cause quite the buzz. All right, thank you very much. Good night. Thank you. It's one of those ones where it's interesting because obviously we don't have millions of bees flying around us. So
do you have a few though? How many do you have?
No real bees.
Not even one. Not a one.
No. So it's one of those ones where we're all trying to figure out, where are you looking to pretend the bees? Oh, I was looking over there. But so the whole thing, you know,
bees. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Very true.
It's believe.
I'll say this: dead bees.
Worse than mine.
Dead bees do not smell good.
So I'm really going to be looking at your reactions then.
Yes, we did play with dead bees, and
yes,
no good.
Watch our differing eye lines. But it's more about the chaos that the bees, you know, the bees is the starter emergency, and then the chaos that ensues from the bees. You know, how do they affect different things around the city and so on and so forth.
Well, as always is the case, the disasters are a vessel to discuss larger topics on the show, which is what makes it so fantastic. And again, thank you all so much for being here today. For those of you watching, make sure to check out the season 8 premiere of 911, as I mentioned, on Thursday, September 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. But we really thank all of you for joining us for this special PaleyFest Fall TV Previews conversation with ABC's 911. You can join more of these programs by clicking the subscribe button below.